You've probably already seen Claude Code used to build apps, generate websites, and even create impressive 3D scenes in Blender. But here's something a lot of people still haven't seen. Claude Code can also build with Lego, not just generate an image of Lego, not just describe a model. I'm talking about actually connecting Claude Code to a brick building system through MCP and letting it place pieces, understand structure, and assemble builds step by step. And honestly, this is where things start to get really interesting. Because once you see this working, you realize Claude Code is no longer just a coding assistant. It starts to feel more like a real builder that can interact with tools and environments beyond plain text. So in this video, I'll show you how this Lego MCP works, what MCP actually is, and why this project is such a fun but also powerful example of where AI tools are heading. Now, before we jump into the Lego side, let's quickly clarify what MCP is. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. In simple terms, it's a standard that lets an AI model connect to external tools in a structured way. Instead of only replying with text, the model can discover tools, call them, read results, and take actions inside connected systems. In other words, MCP is the bridge between the AI and the tool it wants to use. And that's exactly what is happening here. This specific project, called Brick Builder MCP app, is a web app designed for building 3D brick constructions inside MCP-enabled hosts like Claude Desktop. The idea is simple but powerful. You can build interactively yourself or let the AI build structures for you through natural language. The app also gives Claude a set of dedicated brick tools. For example, it can read the building guide, check which brick types are available, render the scene, place single bricks, inspect the current scene, remove pieces, clear the build, and export the result. That means Claude is not guessing blindly. It is working through an actual toolkit designed for brick construction. So that is what makes this such a great demo of MCP. It takes Claude Code beyond writing software and shows how MCP can turn it into an agent that interacts with a live building environment, one brick at a time. And now, let's test it. To get started, go to the download page of Claude Desktop and install it on your machine. Download the installation file, run it, and within just a few minutes, it will be fully set up on your PC or Mac. It's a very straightforward process. Once installed, you'll need to log into your Claude account. In my case, I'm using the Pro version here, which gives access to more advanced features. Once you open the app, you'll notice three main sections at the top: Chat, Cowork, and Code. Chat is essentially what you're already familiar with. If you've used Claude in a browser, it's great for conversations and general tasks. Cowork and Code, however, are where things get much more powerful. These modes allow Claude to interact with your computer, make changes, install tools, and automate workflow. I started with a very simple prompt. I told Claude Code to help me set up this Lego MCP from the Brick Builder MCP app, and I wanted to control it directly from Claude Desktop. What happened next was actually pretty impressive. Claude did not just give me a list of instructions and leave me to figure it out myself. It checked the environment, cloned the repository, installed the dependencies, built the project, and then started working out the best way to connect everything properly to Claude Desktop. At first, it tried one setup route, then realized that the better solution was to run the MCP server locally on my computer so Claude could connect to it directly. That is what made the whole thing feel much more real, because it was not just explaining the setup, it was actively troubleshooting and adapting the installation as it went. But one of the most interesting parts came after that. Claude discovered that having the MCP connected was not enough by itself. To actually build with Lego pieces, it also needed access to the full catalog of brick parts. So it downloaded the complete parts library, which included roughly 13,000 pieces, and then restarted the server so everything could work with the full brick database. And to me, that is what makes this demo so interesting. This was not Claude Code just chatting about Lego or pretending to understand a build. It was setting up the MCP, solving connection issues, downloading the parts catalog it needed, and getting the whole system into a state where it could actually start building. So by the end of the process, Claude was connected to a live brick building environment with a full piece library ready to use. And that is when things started to get really exciting. The first thing I asked Claude to build was a space rocket sitting on a launch platform. And the moment those first blocks started appearing in the 3D visualization, I was honestly pretty excited. Watching an AI place Lego bricks one by one for the first time felt surprisingly cool. There is something about Lego that makes this instantly fun, and seeing Claude actually build with it made the whole demo feel much more real. The final result was pretty cool too. You could clearly recognize the rocket and the launch setup, and for a first attempt, it did a solid job. Now, would I have built a better one myself? Probably yes. But to be fair, LEGO has been in my blood since childhood. Even so, this was a brilliant first test, and it made me even more curious to see what else this MCP could build. So if you're enjoying this video, press like and subscribe. It helps this channel grow brick by brick. For the second test, I decided to push it much harder. I asked Claude to build a Greek temple surrounded by olive trees, and this was where things started to get really interesting. It began with the base, then built up the columns, added the inner structure, and finished with the roof. And then, one by one, the olive trees started appearing around the temple, which made the whole scene feel much more complete. Now, was it perfect? Not at all. There were definitely things that could have been done better. But honestly, for an AI that is fundamentally built for coding, scripting, and tool use, seeing it produce something like this was still pretty impressive. It was rough, but it was recognizable, structured, and actually quite cool to watch come together. Then I decided to push Claude even farther. I brought it back to Italy and asked it to build one of the most iconic structures in the world, the Colosseum. At first, I thought it might actually work. The columns started appearing in place, the layout looked promising, and for a brief moment it felt like Claude might pull off something really special. But unfortunately, that promising start did not last. The more it built, the more the structure lost coherence, and by the end, the result had turned into a complete mess. So this one, without question, is a fail. Still, I think it is an interesting fail, because it tells us something important. Claude can handle simpler builds reasonably well, but when the geometry becomes more complex and the architectural logic becomes harder to maintain, the cracks start to show very quickly. So the Colosseum stays in Italy, at least for now. Then I gave Claude a real challenge. I showed it an image of a Lego church and asked it to replicate it. And to be fair, the beginning was actually quite promising. It shows the colors reasonably well, the shape was going in the right direction, and it even managed to create a bell tower that looked pretty decent. For a moment, I thought it might actually nail this one. But then it got to the roof, and suddenly Claude made a design choice so bizarre that I genuinely think only AI could have come up with it. It was not exactly wrong in a normal way, it was wrong in a very specific, very creative, very AI kind of way. So once again, we had a build that started strong, looked quite promising, and then became a bit of a mess when the more complicated architectural details kicked in. For the final challenge, I asked Claude to build a medieval castle with 4 towers. And honestly, this was one of the best results of the whole experiment. Right from the start, the build felt more structured. Claude laid out the walls clearly, positioned the 4 towers well, and created something that instantly looked like a fortress rather than just a random collection of bricks. What impressed me even more was that it added extra details at the entrance. It looked like it was attempting a drawbridge, and behind that it even created the impression of a metal gate, which gave the castle a much stronger medieval feel. So unlike some of the earlier builds that started well and then lost control, this one stayed coherent all the way through and ended up looking genuinely solid. The only thing missing really would have been a few flags on top of the towers. That would have completed the look perfectly. But I suspect that kind of piece was probably not available in the MCP brick set. Even so, this was a very strong finish, and probably one of Claude's best LEGO builds in this whole test. At that point, I started asking myself an important question. Was I using this MCP properly, or was I expecting too much from it? So I looked at what other people had done with it, and I found a video by Dan Delimarsky, who used it to create a Victorian-style house. Even there, the first results were not perfect, and it took a lot of tweaking and adjustments to get things looking right. So clearly, this is not just a one-prompt miracle tool. It needs guidance, patience, and a fair amount of iteration. My biggest frustration, though, was the token usage. This MCP was burning through tokens incredibly quickly, and that meant waiting ages to finish one build before even thinking about the next one. That part really took some of the fun out of the experience. But in the end, I would still say Claude passes the test. Not with a perfect score, not even close, but it passes. Because despite the limits, the failures, and the waiting, it was still a lot of fun to play with LEGO again through AI. And that is probably the best way to describe this whole experiment. Imperfect, frustrating at times, but undeniably fun. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please support the channel by liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.